The Galactic Council was feared across the stars. For thousands of years, their fleets had crushed every planet that resisted them. Dozens of civilizations had been forced to kneel, their banners torn down, their leaders executed, their armies erased. No one dared to speak against the Council. No one except Earth. The order had been delivered with the same cold words the Council always used: surrender your armies, surrender your skies, surrender your world, or face destruction. On other worlds, those words had brought silence and fear. On Earth, they brought something no alien could understand. A smile. The message had been delivered through the Council's Grand Chamber, broadcast to every world in the Empire. The alien delegates had gathered in the high halls of the Council, watching the humans carefully. They expected begging. They expected fear. That was the way of things. But instead, when the human ambassador stood before them, his lips curled into that strange human expression. He smiled. The chamber filled with whispers. No race had ever smiled when faced with the Council's command. Some asked if the human was insane. Others wondered if it was a threat hidden in plain sight. The Council speaker slammed his staff and demanded silence. He reminded the humans that no world had ever resisted the might of the Council. He reminded them of the billions who had fallen when they defied. He told them Earth was nothing but another small world waiting to be broken. But the human did not flinch. He did not tremble. His voice was calm, even playful. Earth does not kneel, he said. His words were simple, but they carried across the chamber like a weapon sharper than steel. The alien delegates shifted in their seats. Many races had lived long enough under the Council to know that such defiance always ended in fire and blood. Yet there was something in the humans' tone that unsettled them. It was not arrogance. It was certainty. The Council speaker roared in anger, declaring that Earth had signed its death. He promised fleets would descend upon the planet, that fire would consume the skies, that no human would survive to remember their foolish defiance. And still, the human smiled. That smile spread across every broadcast, across every world that watched in silence. To some, it looked like madness. To others, it looked like confidence. Whispers began to rise in hidden corners of the galaxy. Old races, the ones who had seen humanity's early wars, remembered fragments of stories. Tales of humans fighting until the last soldier, refusing to surrender even when all seemed lost. Tales of humans who used cunning and patience instead of fear. And now here they stood, facing the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and still they refused to bend. The Council laughed. They believed Earth was weak. They believed humans were only delaying their inevitable destruction. Yet for the first time in centuries, doubt began to creep into the minds of those who watched. Why would a small world dare to resist the greatest empire? Why did their ambassador wear that smile, as if he already knew how this story would end? In the silence that followed, the human's final words echoed across the chamber. "We have heard your command," he said, "and we refuse." With that, he turned and walked out, leaving the galaxy trembling in confusion. The Council had expected submission. Instead, they were left with a mystery. A mystery wrapped in a smile. The chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so silent. For countless centuries, rulers and ambassadors from every corner of the stars had gathered here to witness the fall of proud civilizations. They had watched mighty empires crumble, their leaders broken and their armies destroyed, all because they dared to resist the will of the Council. Yet on this day, silence filled the air not because of defeat, but because of a smile. The human ambassador had spoken only a few words, yet those words carried weight heavier than any weapon. "We refuse." The statement was bold, but it was the smile that followed which froze the blood of those who watched. Aliens shifted nervously in their seats, their eyes darting to one another, their voices reduced to whispers. Many could not understand what they had seen. To them, a smile was not a sign of strength but a strange display of weakness or madness. Why would humans show amusement when threatened with total destruction? The Council speaker stood tall, his voice booming through the chamber, demanding that the humans withdraw their insolence. He called them arrogant, foolish, and blind to the reality of power. His staff struck the floor again and again, each sound echoing like thunder. Yet no matter how loud he roared, the image of the human's calm face and fearless smile lingered. The alien delegates whispered among themselves. Some called humanity reckless. Others feared there was meaning hidden behind the gesture. In the far corners of the hall, elder races remembered the faint stories of humanity's past, stories that had been buried or forgotten under the shadow of the council. They remembered how humans had fought wars with enemies stronger than themselves, how they had turned battles with cunning instead of numbers. One alien leaned toward another and muttered, "Perhaps they know something we do not." But the council ignored such whispers. They believed Earth was fragile, an insignificant planet with no fleet to stand against them. The speaker announced that fleets would mobilize at once, that Earth would be crushed like the countless worlds before it. He promised that the human smile would be erased, replaced with screams. Yet even as he spoke, doubt grew in the minds of those who listened. Why had the humans shown no fear? Why had they looked so certain? On hundreds of worlds, citizens who watched the broadcast felt something they had not felt in years: hope. If humans could stand before the council and defy them without shaking, maybe the council was not as invincible as they claimed. The idea spread like a quiet fire, hidden in whispers, shared in secret conversations. The council had ruled for so long through fear, but fear was beginning to break. The human ambassador left the chamber without looking back, and his departure left behind an emptiness the council had not expected. The delegates waited for the speaker to restore the sense of order, but even he looked unsettled, his eyes flicking to the doors where the humans had vanished. He struck his staff again and declared that Earth would be destroyed within days, but the words rang hollow, as though he were trying to convince himself. Across the galaxy, the broadcast replayed again and again. That smile. That refusal. That simple promise that Earth would not kneel. Children on distant worlds mimicked it, smiling at their parents and saying, "We refuse." Soldiers whispered it to one another in the shadows, wondering if humanity might be the spark that broke the chains of the council. And in hidden places, old enemies of the council began to watch Earth more carefully. For the first time in living memory, the council's command had not ended with surrender. It had ended with mystery, and the galaxy was left asking the same question. Was the human smile madness? Or was it a warning? The galaxy did not forget easily, yet many truths had been buried under the shadow of the council. After the human ambassador's refusal, whispers began to spread like a quiet storm. In the hidden corners of alien markets, in the dark halls of forgotten archives, and in the minds of elder species who had lived through ages of blood, old stories of humanity returned. These were not tales taught by the council, for the council erased histories that did not serve its power. These were stories carried in fragments, whispered in secret, passed down by those who remembered. They spoke of humanity as a strange people, a species who thrived in struggle, who grew stronger in the face of defeat. Aliens remembered wars where humans fought enemies far larger, far stronger, and still refused to give in. They recalled battles where human fleets burned in the sky, yet survivors rose from the ashes and fought again. The council had always seen such stubbornness as weakness, for to them it was foolishness to keep resisting when all seemed lost. But now those old whispers carried new meaning. Why had the humans smiled in the council chamber? Why had their ambassador spoken with such certainty? Across the stars, doubt spread like cracks in glass. Some alien rulers in secret chambers asked themselves if Earth had a hidden weapon, some force unseen that gave them confidence to defy the council. Others believed the humans themselves were the weapon, their willpower stronger than fleets, their unity harder to break than steel. On frontier worlds, old veterans told stories of human explorers who had once crossed dangerous sectors, not with fleets but with courage. "They never retreat," one alien murmured, his eyes wide with memory. "They only adapt. They fight until nothing remains." In the grand chambers of the council, the speaker dismissed these whispers as nonsense. He declared humanity weak, calling them a species that had only survived because the council had allowed it. He promised once again that fleets would descend on Earth and erase their arrogance forever. But the whispers would not die. In fact, every time the council shouted, the whispers grew louder. Traders spoke of strange human technology, secret projects hidden deep within their system. Smugglers claimed to have seen glimpses of ships that could not be tracked, vessels that vanished like ghosts into the dark. Most of these tales were dismissed as lies, yet they fueled curiosity and fear. Even among the council's own soldiers, quiet conversations began to bloom. What if the humans truly had something hidden? What if the smile had not been madness but a promise? On Earth itself, the people did not tremble at the council's threats. They gathered, they prepared, but above all they stood together. To them, kneeling was never an option. The message from their ambassador had spread through every city and every colony. We refuse. The words were repeated in streets, in schools, in the halls of government. Children spoke them with pride. Soldiers spoke them with fire in their voices. Humanity was not waiting to be destroyed, they were waiting to prove something to the galaxy. In the quiet of deep space, a few alien watchers who had lived long enough to remember humanity's earliest wars whispered a chilling thought. The Council has awoken something it does not understand. For centuries, the galaxy had known only fear of the Council. Now, for the first time, another kind of fear spread. Not fear of the Council's power, but fear of the unknown power behind humanity's smile. And as fleets began to mobilize, preparing to bring fire upon Earth, many wondered the same thing. Were the humans reckless fools walking to their death, or were they predators who had been waiting for the right moment to strike? The fleets of the Galactic Council moved like storms across the void, their warships blotting out the stars as they gathered near Earth's borders. For centuries these fleets had crushed worlds without mercy, and the Council was certain this would be no different. Their commanders laughed at the human refusal, calling it nothing more than the last words of a doomed species. In the Grand Chamber, the Council speaker declared that the human smile would soon be erased by fire, that Earth would serve as an example to all who dreamed of rebellion. Across the galaxy, the broadcast of the approaching fleet was shown as proof of the Council's power. But behind those screens, behind the whispers of citizens and rulers alike, a question hung in the air. What if Earth truly had something hidden? What if the smile had been a warning? When the first Council warships entered human space, they expected silence, fear, and quick surrender. Instead, they were greeted with something none of them could explain. The skies of Earth lit up with power as defense grids activated, weapons of strange design locking onto targets with deadly precision. Satellites that had seemed harmless shifted into formation, their cores glowing with energy unlike anything seen before. The first strike came not from the Council but from Earth itself. Blinding beams cut through the void, tearing warships apart before their shields even registered the attack. Entire squadrons vanished in white fire, their crews screaming into the void. Panic spread through the alien commanders as their fleets staggered under the first wave of destruction. These were not the weapons of a weak world. These were weapons designed to break empires. Across the galaxy, live feeds showed Council warships burning, their mighty hulls split open as though they were made of glass. Citizens watching from faraway worlds gasped in disbelief. For generations, the Council had promised their power was unstoppable, yet here was proof that Earth could resist. The Council speaker roared in rage, demanding his commanders press forward, demanding more firepower, more blood, more destruction. But his orders met hesitation, for his fleets were breaking. A single human ship emerged from Earth's orbit, sleek and dark, its surface glowing with strange patterns of energy. The Council targeted it with every weapon they had, missiles, plasma cannons, and beams that had destroyed entire armadas in the past. The human ship did not fall. It moved with terrifying speed, weaving through enemy lines, its weapons slicing apart warships as if they were nothing but paper. Survivors reported that their weapons did not even scratch its armor. Every strike failed, every attempt collapsed into silence. The ship seemed untouchable, invincible, and its every movement was followed by the destruction of another alien fleet. Fear spread faster than the battle itself. Soldiers who had once marched under the banner of the Council began to question their orders. If one human ship could do this, how many more were hidden? If Earth could unleash such firepower in seconds, what would happen when the Council sent even larger fleets? Across occupied worlds, suppressed peoples cheered in secret, their hearts ignited by the sight of the Council bleeding. The humans had refused to kneel, and now they were proving why. Yet, in the chamber of the Council, the speaker refused to admit the truth. He shouted that the losses were nothing, that the humans would eventually be crushed, but even his own voice trembled. The delegates who had once sat in silence now looked uneasy, their faith in the Council's power cracking. The smile of the human ambassador haunted them, for now they understood it was no empty gesture. It had been the calm of someone who knew exactly what was coming. As the first wave of fleets retreated, battered and broken, the galaxy realized something that changed everything. Earth had not just survived the Council's strike, it had struck first. And in that strike was a message clearer than words. Humanity would not bow, humanity would not kneel, humanity would fight, and perhaps, humanity would win. The galaxy had never seen such a broadcast. The humans had chosen their moment carefully. After the first Council fleets were shattered and forced into retreat, Earth sent a message that reached every corner of space, every world under the Council's control, every ruler who had once believed resistance was impossible. The human ambassador appeared again, the same calm face, the same fearless eyes, and once more the same unsettling smile. His words were steady, his voice filled with quiet power. "You wanted us to kneel," he said. "But you are the ones who will bow." The Council tried to block the message, but it was too late. The broadcast spread faster than they could contain it, carried by traitors, smugglers, and hidden allies who had longed for someone to defy their masters. Across alien worlds, citizens stopped to watch, stunned into silence. They saw not desperation but confidence. They saw a species that should have been afraid, but instead spoke as though it already knew victory was coming. On the Council's homeworld, the speaker roared with fury, demanding that every copy of the message be destroyed, demanding that Earth be crushed at once. But even as he shouted, the delegates in the chamber could not forget the words. The humans had turned their defiance into a warning for the entire galaxy. In hidden places, resistance movements that had been silent for centuries began to stir. Slaves who had been told to never dream of freedom began to whisper of change. Soldiers of the Council looked at one another with doubt in their eyes. For so long they had been told the Council was eternal, but what if that was a lie? The images of burning warships, of a single human vessel destroying fleets, replayed again and again across every world. Some called it a miracle, others called it madness, but all agreed on one thing. Humanity had changed the balance of power. On Earth, preparations continued. The people did not celebrate victory too soon, for they knew the Council would return with greater fury. But still their spirits burned bright. Children painted the words, "We refuse," on walls. Soldiers wore the smile of their ambassador as a badge of pride. Leaders spoke with calm determination, knowing that the eyes of the galaxy were now upon them. In distant star systems, alien rulers who had once bowed to the Council sent secret messages to Earth, offering information, trade, even weapons. They were afraid, yes, but more than that, they were curious. They wanted to know what gave humanity such strength, such unshakable confidence. The Council sent another fleet, larger and stronger, but even as it moved, doubt had spread within its ranks. Some commanders carried out their orders with hesitation. Some soldiers whispered the human warning before battle began. "You are the ones who will bow." When the Second Fleet met Earth's defenses, the outcome was no different. Human weapons cut through their ranks, and once again a single mysterious ship appeared, invincible and merciless. The Council tried to rally their forces, but chaos spread faster than commands. When the survivors fled, humanity did not chase them. Instead, they sent out another broadcast. "We do not seek your destruction," the ambassador said. "But we will not kneel. We will not bend. If you come again, know this, you will not return." His voice was calm, but his words carried the weight of a promise that could not be ignored. For the first time in living memory, the Council faced not just defiance but open warning. The galaxy trembled, caught between fear of the Council and awe of humanity. The smile had become a symbol, and the warning had become a spark. And though the council swore they would crush Earth, deep in their hearts, even they began to wonder if humanity's words were not a threat, but a prophecy. The council was shaken but not broken. After 2 crushing defeats, their pride burned hotter than their fear. They swore the humans had only been lucky, that their strange defenses and hidden ship were tricks that could not last. In their desperation, they gathered the largest armada in centuries, a fleet so vast it covered the stars in endless black. Entire worlds were emptied of their soldiers, every weapon dragged from storage, every commander summoned to battle. They told the galaxy this would be the end of Earth, the final strike that would erase the human smile forever. But as the armada advanced, something strange happened. Their ships began to vanish. One by one, vessels moving at the edge of human space simply disappeared. No explosions, no distress calls, only silence. At first the council believed it was mechanical failure. Then they believed it was desertion. But as the numbers grew, fear began to spread. Thousands of ships, entire divisions, gone without a trace. Survivors from the outer edges began to whisper of a ghost in the dark. They spoke of a human weapon that made no sound, that moved without light, that struck and vanished before anyone could react. They said it tore through hulls without leaving marks, that whole crews vanished before alarms could be raised. The council denied these rumors, but panic grew in the ranks. In the great chamber, the speaker shouted that no such weapon existed, that humans could not possibly wield such power. But the delegates remembered the smile, and many no longer believed his words. The humans said nothing. They did not boast, did not reveal what they had unleashed. They let silence do the work. Silence became the weapon. As the council armada drew closer to Earth, more and more ships disappeared. Commanders sent desperate signals, warning of shadows moving faster than sensors could track. A single image managed to escape before the ship that sent it was lost. It showed a massive dark shape sliding through space, its surface shifting as if alive, no engines, no lights, only a vast black silhouette. The crew had called it a phantom before the signal cut. Across the galaxy, that image spread like wildfire. Some called it the human ghost ship. Others called it the silent weapon. Whatever its name, one truth became clear. Earth was not fighting with numbers, but with fear. Every vanished fleet made the council weaker, every rumor made the galaxy bolder. Resistance groups began to rise, emboldened by the thought that the council could fall. On occupied worlds, citizens whispered of the ghost ship as though it were a legend sent to free them. And always, the humans remained silent. They did not confirm, they did not deny, they only watched. When the council armada finally reached Earth's orbit, it was already broken. More than half its ships were gone, taken by the silent hunter in the dark. Those that remained hesitated, their captains unsure if they were already marked for death. The human defenses activated again, bright light tearing through the first waves, but it was the silence that finished them. In the middle of battle, whole divisions disappeared, leaving only empty space. The speaker's orders were lost in the chaos as the greatest armada ever built collapsed into retreat. And when the survivors fled, the humans still did not chase. They sent no message, no warning, only silence. That silence was louder than any broadcast. It told the galaxy everything it needed to know. The council was no longer unstoppable. Earth had a weapon the galaxy could not explain, a phantom in the dark that destroyed without mercy. And though no human said it aloud, everyone understood the meaning. Humanity had smiled because they knew this day would come. The galaxy had changed forever. The council that once ruled through fear now trembled in its own chamber. Its fleets had been shattered, its armada broken, and its soldiers no longer believed in its strength. Everywhere the human smile lingered, a memory that haunted every delegate who had witnessed it. The silent weapon, the ghost ship, had erased entire divisions without leaving a trace, and no one could deny the truth any longer. The humans were not weak. They were not foolish. They had been waiting. Across distant worlds once enslaved by the council, people rose in defiance. They painted the human smile on walls, they shouted the words, "We refuse," in the streets, and they no longer bowed when the council's soldiers passed. Revolts erupted on planets where hope had been buried for centuries. The Council tried to crush them, but their orders carried no weight. Their soldiers hesitated, their commanders doubted, and everywhere the shadow of humanity's warning followed. On Earth, leaders gathered not to celebrate but to decide what came next. They knew the Council was broken, but broken powers were dangerous. The human ambassador once again spoke before the galaxy, his face calm, his tone steady. "We will not destroy you," he said. "We do not seek to rule. But hear this, we will never kneel, and if you try to break us again, it is not Earth that will fall, but the Council itself." His words spread across every world, carried by voices eager to hear them. To some, it was mercy. To others, it was domination disguised as peace. But to all, it was truth. The Council had demanded Earth kneel, and instead the galaxy now knelt to Earth. Alien delegates who once mocked humanity now approached them with caution, offering peace, trade, and alliances. Some begged for protection, fearful of the ghost ship that had become a legend overnight. The speaker tried to hold on to power, shouting that the Council would rise again, but even his closest allies had turned away. They saw that Earth had become the center of power, not through conquest, but through defiance. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy looked not at the Council for answers, but at humanity. The humans did not boast. They did not claim victory. They only smiled. That smile spread fear into the hearts of the Council and hope into the hearts of the oppressed. It was more than a gesture. It was a symbol of something greater, a promise that humanity would never be broken, and perhaps, that humanity would shape the future of the stars. In the shadows, old enemies of the Council whispered of alliances with Earth, eager to join the rising tide. And in the silence of space, the ghost ship drifted unseen, a reminder that humanity's secrets were not yet fully revealed. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what Earth would do next. But for now, one truth echoed everywhere, from the highest halls to the lowest streets. The Council had ordered Earth to kneel, but it was the galaxy that bowed instead.